Hello, my name is Grace Winier and this is HorsePro, the channel that is dedicated to empowering the amateur horse enthusiast and supporting the budding professional. Today, I am so pleased to bring you the inaugural video in HorsePro's training series. And the training series came about because all winter I was fortunate enough to ask to give clinics. And when I was giving the clinics, I enjoyed it so much because I really got to know a lot of the local industry that I hadn't met before or that I hadn't dealt with a ton. And I really am enthused at how great the future of sport in Ontario is going to be. And hopefully that's going to bleed onto the world stage for us. But what I thought of a little too late in my entire winter was at the last clinic, one of the riders videoed themselves over the 2 days. And I thought, wow, this would be great for HorsePro to show the advancement or the exercises that I would use, even with riders I don't know. And also my regular clientele, in teaching them, I'm going to use a few to show you the different exercises I've developed over the years, I've learned, I've done myself, I've used to train horses, I've used to train riders in an effort to help every teacher out there maybe be inspired to come up with new things, or maybe one of the exercises will help you in a tough spot. I think that's great. So without further ado, I am going to give you a little bit of a blurb on the rider, the horse, and the wonderful trainer who provided me with the absolute affirmation to use this video. Mentioned, the training series I'm producing is built on exercises that I use regularly, and I've developed a lot of these exercises over the years. I've learned some from other trainers. Yes, if you're a great coach or trainer, you are also a bit of a thief because you do want to keep learning yourself. I've ridden them. I've used them for greener horses to instill positive leg to hand riding. I've used them in older horses to reconfirm straightness, leg to hand, muscular development. I've used them for riders in order to enhance their coordination, their skill level, their learning, their eye control. I've used them with horses and riders together and separately. Today's video that I'm going to show you in just a moment comes from an excerpt of a clinic, a 2-day clinic I did for the wonderful Amelia Gartner at Bay Belle Stables. Now, her rider, Reilly Reed, came back to riding 8 months ago after finishing a business degree. He rode with Amelia for 5 years previously and is now riding Amelia's wonderful older show horse, Griff. Now, Griff does not do his lead changes, so when you watch the video, do not be negative or critical about that, because he is a horse that many people should be learning on, or the type of horse that would enhance many people's riding. Now, Reilly does a wonderful job. The first day we did portions of this work and portions of this work as poles, and we did a lot of flat work so that I could gain knowledge for Reilly and his group. And today I'm showing you one of his courses, and really he does a fantastic, absolute job. Now, is it perfect in terms of absolutely no hibble or bibble? No, there are small little glitches, but the point of these exercises are, it shows us what to work towards. It shows us how to ride straight. It shows us leg to hand riding. And if you ask me, Reilly was super, just as all Amelia's riders that weekend were superb. And I did from short stirrup up to the more advanced riders, and each one of them I feel really raised the bar to their riding. But congratulations to Amelia to give me something to teach to begin with, because her students were eager, they were hardworking, uncomplaining. The horses were terrific with great attitudes. But without further ado, here comes Reilly Reed on the wonderful Griff. Reilly Reed ride this course. And again, it took us 2 days to get to the level where we're riding the whole thing. We have to ask ourselves, what are we actually trying to accomplish here? So in a sport where we often ride in arenas which have fencing, whether they're indoors or outdoors, often riders will not ride into their corners. And riders often will ride with only one leg. They assume that the outside wall can be a replacement for their leg. So by riding the trot poles across the center, we are asking the riders to learn how to ride straight, to look ahead, to ride the horse back to front in a straight manner with their eyes up, and to use both legs to accomplish this task. Also at the top, when we ask them to do the in and out, whether we canter it, whether they're small jumps, we're shortening the end, so we're making it slightly more difficult on each side. And then whether they are traveling up, they learn the coordination of leg to hand, they're looking where they're going, and we are really getting them to ride off of the wall and ride the shape of the arena. Now, what does it do for a horse? Well, for a horse, it actually teaches them to find or seek the straightness on the straight sides and to listen to the rider's outside aids to find that straightness. It puts them in better balance back to front. So if you have a greener horse, this allows them a back to front ride. Now, Reilly's horse is older and does not do his changes, but an exercise like this connected to the in and out often will teach a younger horse how to remain balanced in rhythm and finish a lead if they are late behind. So again, these are excellent exercises for horses and riders on many, many levels. I am going to show you the exact course that Reilly did. So this is the outline of an arena, including the entrance of the arena right here. I'm going to grab a marker so I can outline it more. And I'm going to show you what we achieved. So basically, Reilly came along and off the right lead, he cantered down the long wall and jumped a small vertical. From that vertical, he needed to stay nice and straight, make a left-hand turn over 2 canter poles set at 9.5 feet apart. Then from there, he made an immediate left turn using his outside leg, his thigh for a half halt, and both reins to help keep the horse elevated and straight, and added, so this line, 4 to 5, 2 small verticals, 54 feet, and we added in 5. So it's quite small, and the reason we did that is so that we didn't gain too much speed off the canter poles, and that he could be accurate through this turn rather than pressing. And so the other skill is we land, we add in the 6 using our thigh and shoulders, and then we land and we make the immediate left turn to an in and out at the top based on 18 feet. Now these here were only raised canter poles or cavaletti height. So again, we went from the add 5, landed to an 18-foot in and out, then landed straight, turned left, and cantered over a small oxer towards the in-gate. After cantering down and around, we jumped around and we did number 9 to 10, which was a 2-step based on 33 feet. Now again, that's short because we're not doing this at any maximum height. We're trying to use this to gain a sense of rhythm and organization and straightness. From 9 to 10 on the 2-step, we went back to the top, turned right, and went back across the 11 and 12, which was our in and out, our 18-foot in and out, now off the right lead. Then an immediate right turn, jumped in over our vertical 13, did our add 5 line towards home, add in 5 towards home, and an immediate left turn and straight out over our 2 poles. So that was the entire course that you just watched, and I've given you some reasons for it. And now we're going to move on and we're going to see what the actual causalities and the reasons are. So again, modified versions and further explanations. So our two poles at 9.5 feet. So what we can do is when you set those poles at the end of an arena, instead of along the length of the arena, then the poles where actually teach us. Well, here we go. So if we were teaching a modified or a novice rider and we simply placed our trot poles along the short end of the arena, what we are teaching them is to correctly use the space, and right here in this corner, we are teaching them when to half halt, how long to hold the half halt in order to keep the horse's neck and shoulder straight, how to get the outside leg on to turn, and how to use the inner leg to continue to ride straight. The arena is not an oval, so we need to understand the concept of straight and in rhythm rather than allowing the horse to come on a curve. And I'm just going to show you this. So I prefer the riders to find the middle by traveling as such and then out down the long side. Most people, or a lot of people, will allow the riders to cut the corner, lean in, and then follow a trajectory like that. However, if you don't take a moment to figure out how straight this needs to be, then when you go to ride an inner corner like this, you are actually tipping. If you learn and teach riders first to ride a much more square corner and how that balance rides, then when they come off of a circular or a less angled turn, they actually will be in balance rather than leaning in or having the horse sit on only the inside leg instead of propelling itself off both hind legs. And what we're looking for is the horse to propel itself off both hind legs, and for the rider to understand the horse's two hind legs need to push the shoulder. The shoulder should not be inside or outside of the hind legs. So this is what this does. Now at the top, as a one stride, what we've done is made it two little jumps. And so this way, when you're coming off of this corner, it's simply a greater test to see whether you can maintain a canter and go straight. And this isn't an exercise where, necessarily you're going to be perfect all the time. This is an exercise of self-realization, your riding skills, and understanding how straight a horse needs to be and how to ride back to front. Number one rule, we're riding back to front. So these two elements are really important. Now the turn and the add, whether we go up or down the vertical line, is important because the add is harder to do and keep the horse straight, yet it makes your corners easier for this exercise. And then as we learn the technique of balance and riding the horse leg to hand, we certainly then could understand that when we make our corners a little rounder, then we could do the numbers, because we actually wouldn't have this or this at the ends of the arena. But what they represent is the portion of time the horse's body should be straight. So a lot of people, when they allow curves to happen, and only curves, the horse never has a moment to be straight. So the half halt will always be flawed. And getting to the next jump will then create a weak distance, either an add or either a chip or a lengthen. Whereas riding a straight line right here and a straight line, at least one stride here, is what will get us an easy next jump. And that's what this exercise really is built to do, is to use the ends of the arena straight. Now the distances that I've had are a little shorter because the jumps do not need to be big to do this, and you can easily do them all as poles on the ground. And you can start a modified rider there. Just to recap what we're doing here, these poles placed on the short end of the arena are to teach a rider how to ride two straight lines so that when they go to ride a more subtly curved line, they understand how to recognize if the horse is straight. So if the horse is straight at least one stride at either end, then they will naturally be able to make a turn based on the horse propelling itself back to front, which gives them a greater chance of making the next sets of jumps work. This also teaches them leg to hand coordination and control, teaches them eye control, and it teaches them how to look up and yet ride forward with the leg. Also, this ad here, when you ride from here to here, all right, we are teaching the rider how to keep their leg on whilst balancing, whilst staying straight on the turn. So straightness is the key. The ad is the key. So we're also thinking about the consequence of what decision we make in front of the jump and what that gives us on the landing side of the jump. And that is why we connect our poles to our line to our in and out. Versions and your further explanations. Your two poles at 9.5 feet. You can put them at each end of the arena, and you can put them joined to poles on the length side as well. But what you're trying to do, remember, is to teach the riders to steer properly, to use their leg and their leg first, because they will not be able to complete this exercise without the leg pushing the horse's shoulder and head in a straight line. It also teaches them, just like over here, a moment to straighten the horse, regroup, and half halt if necessary. And the half halt we'll go over in a future video coming up. Now, the two exercises, the one stride across the top, which I just showed you actually when I should have showed you the poles. The two exercises at the top, you can do, again, it's just more difficult. It just creates less space at each end and it challenges the rider more. So you can start as poles, then you could do X's, you can do whatever you want to do. Now notice when I did my canter poles, I left them as poles because I didn't think it was advantageous for me at this moment to have a bounce at the end. So I actually prefer, when there's only 9.5 feet here, I actually prefer them not to be actual jumps but to be canter poles. The ad line. So the ad line you can do as poles. You can do as poles attached to your two poles at the end or your in and out at the top. And you can do that as poles and teach the riders how to ride that. You can also add in the representation of the other jumps and ride them as poles, or you can do these as poles and then your traditional diagonal outside as small jumps. And in this manner, you can make it to go from a moderate to, or a beginner level, to an advanced level. And this could give you, I did it in 2 days, and all the riders of all levels were able to do this at different heights and different requirements, but this could be 4 or 5 lessons. This could be 10 lessons to get this course complete. So again, these are a little bit your modified. So your poles, right, which you can learn, teach riders to trot or canter or make into small jumps. However, for my uses, I prefer these not to be jumps at the short end of the arena unless I'm specifically working on a different exercise. For this exercise, I prefer it as poles. For me, for this exercise, the in and out, I prefer as small raised poles or cavaletti. And for the ad line, I do prefer that the rider stay on the ad because that's another skill set. It teaches them to think about adding and think about the consequence of landing. And that is what this teaches. This teaches add to think about the consequence. So therefore, when they are doing the regular number, they will actually be naturally practiced at thinking about the consequence. Set, we go from the top to a standard small oxer, but again, we're noting that we should be learning the various versions of turn, yet on the basics of keeping the horse straight. Landing, squaring up our turn, coming around off of a square turn to ride our 2-stride away from home. Now I didn't make that distance very large because again, the riders had so much to think about straightness, route, rhythm, and organization. I didn't think it was valuable to make the jumps large or the distances big. Now from here, we simply go back to a right hand turn to our in and out. And again, it's because I like to practice everything right and left. So in my courses, often you'll be able to do things 2 ways, the main thing I'm trying to train. So again, we're looking for the quality of turn, the straightness, a pause moment at the top in which we learn to keep the horse straight, and our eye ahead, and then the consequence of what we do here and here, and what we want when we land. It's by the time you turn and you see this jump, this is completed. You need to start thinking about the landing, which is why I do the add. So again, these are the reasons why this exercise is set up as it is, and the reasons why it works on creating a more confident rider and confident horse. Any of today's video to be of value, to be useful, to provide information that you want to learn about or have more of, please hit the subscribe button and the like icon. That will tell me that I'm on the right path to give you information that you want. And also, please hit the notification bell and you'll be alerted to any new videos. Now, I have to give one more shout out. These wonderful HorsePro t-shirts were done by Bay Belle Paper and Press, owned by Stephanie Drake in Uxbridge, Ontario. So if anybody wants wonderful, excellent quality, excellent items for any type of horseware for their stable, or if you need invitations made up or wedding invitations, please give a shout out to Stephanie and ask her to provide you with those items. I'm going to leave you today with one more video, another round of Reilly, Paul, and Amelia Gartner's Griff.
Oh yeah. Lots of teaching.
Aspen's last round, Amelia.
Yeah.
This is fabulous.
Oh yeah, no,
She really rides it.
very nicely.
Griff's a star, of course.
Oh.